Okay, welcome everybody along to another marketing roundtable. Fantastic to see you here. So the way that we're going to be working today, gang, is we're talking about for the first half, which will take us only to about sort of 25 past, half past, about how to create demand for what you do by limiting the supply of views. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We want to kind of look at that supply and demand piece, and specifically you in your business, because as small businesses, we are that supply and demand piece. Then we'll be taking some questions on all types of marketing around this, and it usually fosters some nice debate. That's where we want a round table. Okay, so we want to see your opinions, want to hear your opinions. Give us your thoughts on what you see today. Fantastic. Do say hello in the chat. Great to see you all. Let's network together. Okay, so what a lot of people will see within our process, so we've got a 9-step process on the website, and today very much covers solving a pain and do it well within a solution that scales, but it also covers step 2 and step 3. So if anybody hasn't seen that $1 million thesis, let me just stick that in the chat. What we'll do is we'll go onto my website like this, and you see at the top thesis at the top, you click on thesis, bam, and then that will give you this 8-step thesis that will talk about how to be able to scale to $1 million in revenue. So if you haven't done that, have a check out of that. Okay, so we're going to be covering a few of these stages up. Right, so who gets to hear this? My clients won't pay that much. Whenever I talk to clients about putting their pricing up, particularly when we're in the market that we're in at the moment, a lot of people will be going, there's just no way. Not in the cost of living crisis, not in the way that we're seeing the world at the moment. And the fact is that now is the perfect time to do it, because you've got to use other things to be able to use those push-pull levers, right? And we're going to go through that today. Okay. Look at this person. So this person is an expert, Tony Robbins, and he is worth 600 million, and he is a coach. He is able to sell his time for considerable amounts of money with massive events, etc. And as expert business service sector businesses who sell time or put accelerators or product together, these people are great models of that. They can sell. The market is there to be able to sell your time, your knowledge for a large amount of money. It's there. So if people can do it, then why can't you? Okay, and the way that you do this is through looking at some simple economics. So things like looking at supply and demand dictates how many you sell and the price you sell, right? So quantity and price. And so that hits your sweet spot. The more supply you put on, then it changes things. Let's look at that, okay? So if we actually start to think about reducing your supply, so actually stop giving so much of you into the world, then what happens? The concept of price should go up for your time, because you're limited the amount of time that you're actually being able to offer to people. And so by moving that quantity down and therefore reducing that supply, demand, what's happened to demand? The demand has gone up by the supply going down, and therefore the price has gone up. Now let's look at how we can do the same with demand, right? So by increasing that demand, you also then increase price, and the quantity increases, and so therefore your prices increases again, right? So if we want to try and do this properly, we want to limit supply and increase the demand for you. So how do you increase the demand? Well, by producing more content, creating moments. We're going to go through that now, and actually do marketing increases demand. How do you limit supply? Just being intelligent with how you work your diary. Again, we're going to go through that. And so those two things, we'll see this price, that little purple piece, that's your price has gone up, but the quantity you had to sell to achieve that price is far less. There's a tiny little bit more quantity you had to actually sell, so you don't have to deliver as much, but you get paid highly for it, right? So that's the point. For the same amount of deliverables, you get paid far more. And that's where Tony Robbins could be doing exactly the same amount of delivering as you, but he's getting paid far more because he's understood the supply and demand piece, right? So we're going to show you how to move these levers today. So you are, in a small business, the supply and demand driver in your business. This is the expert business, the service sector businesses that we focus on, okay? So step one, we need to help you to be able to solve a pain and do it well within a solution that scales, okay? So if you don't know who you're targeting and actually what you're driving value for that person, then how can you scale? Let me tell you a story about Yob, my marketing agency. So when I first started out, I was everything to everyone. I was trying to be a graphic designer. I was trying to do marketing campaigns for this person. I was trying to do email campaigns for that person, business cards for this person. I was trying to be everything to everyone. But when I realized that the thing that people actually wanted from me, the thing that the demand was lead generation, then I completely changed my business and just focused on lead generation. And I sold one product. And it meant that by limiting the amount of supply of things that people could buy from me, I was able to increase the value of that one product. And I was able to get really good at that one product. So we got the result that we wanted for people. And therefore, the cost of that product was able to increase, and we will be able to grow as a team and optimize as a team. That's how it works. If you look at how I currently work at the moment, let me just jump onto a little bit of a blackboard. We just have one product. So when people come and see us, we have strategy sessions. Well, hey, we got the rainbow pen out today. That's awesome. Okay, we come in and we do strategy sessions. And when people come into our sessions, I sell them just one thing. It's the $1 million sprint. I don't do anything else. I don't have any other way of people buying from me. And so therefore, the product is the only thing that we do, and it's therefore the best thing that we do, and it gets the result the best. And so the demand for that product is high because people see me, they like the idea of the content I'm putting out, and then they go, well, what is the thing that you do? And it's only that. So the demand for this is high. I don't have a set of products like a bronze, silver, gold, whatever it is. And so what you'll find when people have a value ladder of products, they'll be doing some stuff for like 49 quid here and like 297 here and like 500 here and 1,000 here, etc. And the demand for this stuff won't be high because everybody's trying to do this value ladder stuff, and the people go, oh, I'll do a bit of that and then that, but that wasn't very good, so I'll spin off and buy something else. And you're thinking, well, what about my other products? And that's just because you're not creating enough demand for these, because you're giving people too many options, right? So it's about creating that demand by solving a pain and doing it well, okay, within a solution that scales. The next thing is then you need to create a demand moment. So we've limited the supply of products by having your one flagship product, by creating that product. Step two, we then want to create a demand moment each week. This demand moment could be something like a weekly moment. This is currently a weekly moment for our business, the Marketing Roundtable. We do it every single week. It's at 9 o'clock on Wednesday, right? And so our marketing allows us to produce demand, as in bring people along every week to see us, and then we open up the opportunity for people to come and learn more about the product later, right? So a demand moment is not a sales moment. It's just creating thought leadership. It is a thing that you do every single week to be able to show why people should work with you, show your expertise, to be actually seen as that thought leadership, to create the desire for people to want to find out more about you. Now, this could form a few different ways. You could be doing things like podcasts. So you could have a weekly podcast. You could have a weekly event like this. You could produce a long form article on LinkedIn that's highly, that's very well put together as your piece of thought leadership, if that's how you do it. You could produce, you could go live on LinkedIn once a week. You could be doing a YouTube video once a week. Whatever that moment is, you could be doing an event in person once a week. Whatever that moment is, have that as the core thing, the crescendo of the week, the focal point for what you do, and you drive people into it. Let's just have a look at this diagram. We're going to, unfortunately, because the rainbow pen is quite chunky. We're going to say goodbye to it for a second, and we're jumping on a plain old boring white one. But it just might be easier to see for me to write with. So if you are if you're speaking to lots of people and driving them to somewhere, so we connect with people on LinkedIn, we talk to people on Facebook, we might have different messages, we might see people at networking events. Where do we send people to? What do we do? Do we just tell them to go straight to a sales call? Well, that's a little bit too presumptuous, right? There might not be the desire or the opportunity there. And so hence why this weekly moment gives you rhythm. And that weekly moment gives you a focal point for your email database, for your social media network, for everybody you talk to come along and find out more about you and to learn from your expertise. If you don't have this moment in your marketing mix, you are leaving the opportunity to really update and inform and generate the interest to then, when they're right, come along to your sales call, which is a separate meeting. Cool? Makes sense? So step 2 is generating that demand moment each week. Step 3 is then in that demand moment, over deliver value for free pre-sale. And so when you talk about over delivering value, it's not just a case of, a little couple of tips about this, because there's so much content around there. Really do give people some deep, interesting, considered information and do it for free. That's what it's all about. Really deliver it. Give swipe files out, give training, loop people back. You saw right at the start of this call before we hit recording that John, one of my good friends, asked me about a Facebook ad session that I did previously, and I was able to introduce him to that Facebook ad session and send him the recording, send people the swipe files for those sessions. So there is lots of ability for you to keep on delivering value to people over and over again. That's the whole point of over delivering that value for free pre-sale. Step 4 is that then you want to limit the number of sales calls you have, or do it in a group. So when we start to think about our week, right, we want to be able to drive people to take action. Okay, so if you're creating a large number of people that are watching stuff, not just on a live session maybe like this, but also on replay, and you then say to them, hey, I've only got 5 spaces in my diary each week for a strategy session. And the way that you position that is to be able to say, hey, look, you just had a load of advice for me on a session, but I offer a 60-minute or a 45-minute strategy session where we'll go deep on your business. We'll apply all of this stuff that we talk about over here to you personally. And I will give you tips and takeaways and stuff and actual content that really does apply for you. So if you're telling people that and they can jump into that session there, that becomes desirable because they've had information here, which is good. And then they can have specific tailored to them information here. And they go, oh, that's great. But there's only 5. And if there's only 5, then I need to make sure, because there's 30 people here, I need to make sure that I book on one of these 5 sessions. Otherwise, I'm going to miss out on that opportunity. So what have we done? We've limited supply here of you, and therefore we're increasing demand by having your weekly moment. And so this increased demand and this limited supply equals a full diary of bookings for you. And when you're creating a campaign, we talk to clients about this concept of 30, 20, 5, 2. That's 30 bookings for, say, your weekly moment, 20 attendees, 5 strategy sessions, and then 2 sales, right? 30, 25, 2. And if you can make this your weekly rhythm, then you are able to be able to scale at 2 sales a week every week consistently. And if you're working that system, then you have a machine in your business. You have a lead generating, content creating, weekly moment delivering machine that for you banks those 2 sales per week. That's how you really scale as a sustainable model. And the beauty of this is that these 30 bookings and 20 attendees, but you've also got things like replays, right? So an attendee could be a replay listener, right? You've got people that watch stuff and book stuff that although they booked this session and didn't attend, you then still have 10 people that booked a session that you can then send the replay to. And on that replay can ask people to then come to the strategy sessions. So you can really sweat the asset and you can really get into rhythm, and you can start to use team to be able to help you with these bookings, to be able to get people on. You can start to use ads to help you to get more bookings, right? You can start to pull those levers because you are creating a moment each week to be able to work. Make sense? Cool. All right. So limit the number of sales calls you have, or even do it as a group sales call, and it's only 1 session a week. And if you miss it, you miss it. Therefore, you can create that demand, right? Step 5, you need to set the plan and then crank that handle consistently. So when we talk about a plan, so here's an example of a plan that I did for our clients, Ada and Andrea. This is their map. This is their funnel map. And on the left-hand side, you can see that they're working LinkedIn lead generation. They're getting people into their weekly moment. They're warming people up with email marketing. They're delivering their weekly moment via Zoom. They're getting people to a strategy session. They're actually you're repurposing their weekly moment as a YouTube and a podcast as well to get those extra replay viewers. And then they're pushing people from that strategy session into their flagship landing page to be able to then get decision calls for people to actually then buy and start onboarding, right? There is a plan there that they work each week and they deliver against it consistently. And that's exactly where you should be focusing. You set the plan and you deliver against it, rhythm and routine. Now, the beautiful thing about rhythm and routine is that you can put together something like this. So this is our Trello board for our 13-week cycle. And this is my one. So let me just show you the live one. And I have a live Trello board where not only because I know what my weekly moments are, now let me just get the Trello board sorted, not only because I know what my weekly moment themes are each week, so 1 to 13 different weeks. So I think we're week 8 at the moment. Look, yeah, how to create demand by limiting the supply of you. So we can set a consistent calendar that says, right, on Wednesdays, we're going to do those sessions. So on Monday, what do we want to do? Well, we want to do some sort of engagement creator to spike the algorithm to be able to get people along. Tuesday, what do? We do a promotional post. We got to send out an email. Let's have an example of the email. Here's the email that we send out on Tuesdays, right? Wednesday, we do the session, but we also send out some email reminders. Here's the email again to be able to do it. So these are little project management for each one of these cards to be able to do it. Thursday's replay day. So you send out a replay to people to say, hey, who wants the replay? Plus you send out the replay to people that missed the session. And then Friday's thought leadership plus what's on next week. So you send out a little piece of thought leadership. For example, here there's a nice testimonial here that we put out to show credibility. And then we go and invite people along to the session next week using the social media events, right? Having the knowledge, gang, that you've got 13 weeks all locked in and the content around that to be able to generate the people in the session empowers you to have rhythm. And I can't remember what I did last weekend, let alone 14 weeks ago. So your audience, if you loop back around and do exactly the same rhythm every 13 weeks, you will still have a big attendance. And if everybody's going to every single one of the sessions, then to be honest with you, they're not going to buy from you anyway. So that's fine. They just become part of your audience, right? So the reason why it's 13 weeks, let me just show you, is we want to do 13. So 52 weeks, 52 weeks divided by 4 equals 13, right? So you run your 13-week cycle 4 times a year. So 4 times a year, you're running the cycle. Every single week, you're looking to get 30 bookings, 20 attendees, 5 strategy sessions, 2 sales. That's how you use this system to be able to limit the supply of you, because it's 1 weekly moment, it's only a limited amount of strategy sessions, say 5, or if you do it as a group strategy sessions, it's 1 session a week. So you limit the supply of you in terms of the sales meetings, you can increase the demand for you in terms of the weekly moment, and then that generates the rhythm and the sales for you to be able to grow. Cool. So gang, that is how you do it. Now I want to take some questions from the group. If you want to find out more about how I work with clients and have a demonstration of how that system and what your 13 weeks could be and how your engagement creators to work and how you could position your flagship product, then I do offer a strategy session to be able to show you that, right? And so it is a demo of my product, but the first half of it is all about how this would apply to you so you can go and take the takeaways, right? So let me just quickly show you how to do that, and I'll take some questions from the group. So what you do, and remember that these, as you might guess, these sessions are limited. It's 1 group session a week, but you can see on my website here, you can see a free strategy session on this call. You can see you can reserve your strategy session place there, and we can book onto it here. So let me just stick this into the chat for you here. And it's into the chat. There you go. So jump on there now and grab one of these limited spaces here. There's 12:30 UK time every single Wednesday. I only do 1 session a week. That's all you do. So if you want to see how this applies for you, there's only 1 session a week. It's 12:30 every Wednesday. Jump onto there. It's only limited to sort of 5 to 6 people on those sessions. So jump into there. There's still some space for today. So jump onto there. That's the whole point. So 12:30 today. And thank you, by the way. I'm just getting a ping that someone's already booked onto that. So do take action now and jump onto that. And I look forward to seeing you guys in that strategy session. It's just in the chat. Cool. Questions then, gang. Thoughts, opinions, add to the conversation. John.
You've spoken before about building a funnel with the emails. I think that's one of the questions I popped in there. What is it you use to fit those people into those 13 emails? So they get week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 consecutively. And when you get someone new, they get email 1, 2, and 3. What one was that?
Yeah, so the point being is that that's called what we call a long-term warming up sequence. So that's your thought leadership. So we would tell people to work on that on a Friday. So Friday thought leadership. And what you do within that long-term warming up, and the reason why we say Friday, by the way, John, is because Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday morning, you're promoting your weekly moment. So you want people to come along to your event. Right, if you're working that model, don't have to work that model because your long-term, your warming up sequence could be your weekly moment. It could be a piece of long-form informative content. Could be your newsletter. Your newsletter could be your weekly moment. You could put out a really good newsletter, but I would argue that you probably want to have within that newsletter like a podcast or something that helps people to dive in more, right? But if you are setting up a long-term warming up sequence, what you do, and I'm just going to throw out a couple of bits of software. There's tons of software for email marketing, but we like Active Campaign because it's really kind of clever and it allows you to have a CRM on the back of it. But if you want free and really good, then Mailerlite. And that works up to about 1,000 contacts for free. So Mailerlite is the best kind of entry-level email marketing software, which can do what I'm showing you now. Active Campaign then is a bit more advanced to do some other cover ninja stuff, but it's not required from what I'm about to show you, right? So what you do is the long-term warming up is that we talk about setting the train going down the track, right? So you write, say, I don't know, 4 emails, okay? And within those 4 emails, you do a 7-day break in between. Okay, so you wait 7 days. That's how you set up the sequence. And when people come into this sequence, you make sure that it waits until, say, Friday at 11 a.m. Okay, and so you do a wait until Friday at 11 a.m. and then you send email 1. Okay, so the automation can do this. It's clever. So you can pile people into this, pile people into this. Now, when you do your initial database, so say you've got 5,000 people in your initial database, you stick them into this. It waits until next Friday at 11 o'clock. It sends them email 1, and then it will send them down the track. Okay, now that's the carriage. The first people you put down is the front of the train, the engine of the train. Now every week you should be getting new people joining your database. People, for example, for you, John, people joining your groups or registering to attend for the first time. And so as they do that, so let's say that the engine is here, the next week will be the people that you signed up in that week. So say you got 5,000 here, you might only get like 30 people a week joining your database. But that's cool because they become the carriages of the train that are the weeks behind the main train going down this track, because it's waiting till Friday and then putting the rest of them and they get email one, right? So you make these what we call evergreens. So they're thought leadership stuff, but it's not like last Friday when I watched the football and Man United lost or whatever. Like that's too date specific, where it's got to be more thought leadership based. Okay, so that's how the train goes down the track in your thought leadership, and then your job is to make sure the train doesn't fall off the track. So you've got to add email 5, you know, by the time that the track gets to sort of email 3 or at the latest email 4, because you've got to add a 7-day wait and then add email 5. So you're constantly, once you set this train down the track, you just need to make sure you write a nice piece of content each week and add it to the end of the track. And so therefore you have a lovely asset that will just pay dividend over time. And if you want to get really flash, what you could do is you could write, 4 or 5, at a time. You sit down and write 4 or 5 blogs, you add them to the end, and then you don't have to worry for a month. And then bam. The way that we used to do it with the agency, this was actually part of our product I've done for you. And it's now part of our coaching that we actually get our clients to do this. And where we show them how this can work nicely is actually you might have someone that's better on video, right? So we say to them, why don't you do a video shoot? And in that video, you do, times 10 pieces of content, right? And then once you get those videos, what you can ask your clients to do, what you can ask a writer to do is to write a blog post for you, an email for you, and 7 days of social media for you, right? So how that works then is that video each week, you could get a social media person to post that on YouTube. They take a bit of this blog, by the way, and add it as the YouTube description. So that kind of solves that. They then post the blog on your website, which is great for SEO as well. They then email your customer base, but they email and say, hey, I've written this blog, and also we got this video. So now you're driving traffic to those blogs and those emails, and the email is pre-written by the writer. And then the writer also writes 7 bits of content. Most of that's to do with, hey, have you read this blog? Have you seen this video? Maybe little snippets of the video. And this becomes what we call your content pack. So it means that you hit your video, you hit your blog, you hit your email, and you hit all the social media subjects. And all you did was do 1 day of video shoots to create 10 amazing videos. And then that just distributes out through the network. It's a wicked way of doing it. It requires a writer, so someone to actually write the content for you, and probably a social media, what we call a distributor to be able to distribute it. That could be a VA who you just get to work for like 2 hours in a week. So that could be like 30 quid per week for a VA to be able to schedule all this stuff. And then for a writer, it probably is another 30 quid's worth of work. So for about 60 quid a week, you could have a lot of this done.
Just going back to the emails. And the
long-winded answer there for you, John.
Yeah, you did, mate, but it's good because everybody else is getting something from it as well. So I hope anyway. I'm sorry about the dog in the background. Just very quickly, going back to the email, Mailerlite and active company campaign. If I was to put out a post and say, join my newsletter, do they provide links that automatically updates the CRM system, or would we have to import it to the emailing platform?
So the beautiful thing about both of those platforms is that you can create forms within that platform, and those forms are embeds within your website. So you can actually have the form on your website be an active campaign form or a Mailerlite form. And when they submit into that form, it automatically adds them into Mailerlite, which can then trigger them to then go into a group. Let me give you. I'm going to sketch that out because
I don't want to take too much of your time, Richard. I appreciate this, mate.
Mate, this is look. I mean, guys, give us a thumbs up if this is good You were enjoying this? Okay, right, there you go. This is the sort of stuff that this is the whole point of this Q&A piece. And you see how, by the way, just to kind of indulge a bit here, you see how I'm applying a lot of this to John and being able to do these sketches. This is exactly what we do in this strategy session that I was talking about earlier. So do, if you're not, and I'm just going to chuck into the chat one more time, do jump into that strategy session. I will apply this and draw these out for you and your business. So this type of line of questioning that John's asking is a great example of how that session works. Okay, so how you would handle Mailerlite. Mailerlite uses things like groups. ActiveCampaign uses things like lists, right? And so what we would have here is you would have a group, which is, say, LinkedIn, okay? You would have another group, which is websites. You would have another group, which is Facebook, right? And so as you start to generate inquiries, they submit people into your website, into your from your website into these groups, right? So you've got forms that are associated with these groups. So they submit people. They don't just chuck them all. The wrong way to do it is to get these forms just to chuck everybody straight into your big database. What you do is you chuck them into these different groups so you can see where people are coming from and you can judge how good your marketing is. And then you have an automation that says when someone joins this group, then add them to the sequence that is long-term warming up, right? So that automation then adds them in here. So what you'll have within your database is, 300 people here, maybe 1,000 people here, 500 people here. So you can see how effective your marketing is and where people have come from. And of course, they don't get duplicated as well. And then when you do an email, you can send to all, which is fine. So you can send out to all. So this long-term warming up handles it all. So that's how you can see your marketing coming in, how you can do different automations. So for example, when someone connects with me on LinkedIn, I automatically add them into the LinkedIn group. And then I'll actually trigger an automation before they go into the long-term warming up, which says, hey, thanks for connecting me on LinkedIn. I'm going to send you some information over the next few weeks, unsubscribe if you want to. And then it drops them into that. When someone subscribes to a sequence, say on Facebook, where they've downloaded an ebook, I'll do a automation first. It says, hey, thanks for downloading your ebook. Here's the ebook. And then I might do another nudge to say, what did you think of the ebook? Would you like to have a strategy session? And then I will then drop them into long-term warming up. So you can handle the communication based upon what people's actions are, if they've downloaded something, if they've asked for something, etc. This isn't unusual. This is kind of autoresponders, but it's about what you do after the autoresponder. So a lot of people just have forms on their websites that will say, hey, thanks for submitting this form. You have inquired about X, Y, and Z. Fine, great. But actually, what do we want to do? We really want to go, well, thank you for submitting this information. Here's the information. Then we want to follow up with them afterwards, a couple of days, to say, hey, what did you think of that information? Then we might want to follow them up and say, hey, would you like to have a strategy session or something like that? And then if they still haven't communicated or done anything, then you just drop them into long-term warming up and you warm them up, because it's long-term warming up. If they were hot, they probably would have jumped into your sales call, right? But if they're not hot, then you just keep them warm over time, right? Which is where things like your long-term warming up sequence works, where your weekly moment works. It's all about just building the credit within the bank to be able to, give people enough knowledge to be able to help people, to be genuine, to deliver. And then if it's right for them, potentially then start working with them. That's what it's all about. Cool. Did that help? Thank you. Thank you for the pure gold comment in the chat. Look at that. Oh, stop it. Making me blush. Got time. I'm sticking around for a little bit longer, guys. So I'm happy to take some further questions from the group. What are people seeing? John, yeah. You're muted, buddy.
So it keeps bouncing around. I feel like I'm hogging everything here, but the thing about this, what I'm getting at this is, that you should know, but you don't really know. And what you've done is demonstrated what might be an area of doubt, which then puts people insecure about taking action and doing it. So it's well worth the time. So thank you very much, Richard. That's all I wanted to say, mate.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, look, if you want to, one of the things I mentioned this before about the YouTube, but we did a session on converting your social media into thought leadership emails. And I'm just looking to so there is a whole thing in this long-term warming up sequence that I did ages ago. Convert your social media posts into long-term warming up emails. Here you go. So this is a session here, and I'll just copy that. Oh, there I am. And I'll stick that in the chat for you as well, so you can have a little bit of a goosey gander at that, and also don't be afraid to subscribe, guys, and like it. Wicked. Further questions, gang? Further questions?
Sorry, I've missed you for the last couple of weeks, buddy. I've been
Oh, Tony. Yes, sorry. Say again, Tony. Just going to turn up the volume a bit.
Not coming through. Can you hear me? Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I've missed the last 2 or 3 weeks, buddy. I've had some family issues, sadly.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Nearly lost my mum and dad.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, sorry. It's really sorry to hear.
Yeah,
that.
they had this COVID booster, and it nearly killed them.
Jeez.
Anyway, so but I'm really struggling on the Wednesday morning session, because I've opened up Australia now with our business, and I want to get back into the routine of listening to you again, because I found your content really invaluable, and it's obviously really helped me to start growing the business again. So could you just put in the link or the chat, the link that we have for I think it's the 12 o'clock sessions that you do, because that's better for me, obviously, because 9 o'clock in the UK is something like 8 p.m. in the evening in Australia. So
that's right. The 12:30 session is the strategy session. It's the same session every single week. You only should go to it once.
Oh, right. Okay.
It is great. I don't think you've been to it, so do jump in and we can discuss the business, and I can give you specific tactics on how to better grow it. But it's the same session. It's a strategy session. It's designed to be tailored towards the 4 or 5 people that go to that session, and so that's where the deep dive is. We look at where you are now and where you want to be in 12 months time. We look at the funnel, the campaign that can help you to get to those goals. So that's the session. Obviously it's a 9 o'clock UK time in terms of the marketing roundtable, but of course there is the Facebook, the link, the YouTube that I just showed that has all the replays that go on. And we also, if you're registered for this, we'll loop back to you and we'll email you the replay each week if you can't make it. So that might be the best way of kind of working out.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. David's got his hand up. Yes, David, over to you.
Yeah, I find the model you've got there of the one product rather than the ladder of ascension very compelling. However, I do have a kind of question around that, because what I do is I sell video services, and inevitably, people are not going to necessarily be able to afford that full package, where you go through and produce, video content along a lot of different scales. And so am I leaving money off on the table, whatever the phrase is, because what often happens is I offer some of those lower value things for people who can find things less affordable, particularly in these economic dire straits.
So that is exactly the reason, that's exactly what everybody feels, and what happens. So the reason why is it's specialized, which then gives you your flagship product, right? So the thing is, if you are doing small level products, then if you go, here's a number of different packages. So let me just jump onto this board. If you go, well, look, I've got all these different packages, this kind of, you can have a little bit of video. It's video services, you said. Sorry, the internet went just as you were saying it. Right?
It's different scales of video. So there could be cheaper, like social media shorts, but then I've got my own purpose-built studio, which is $1,000 plus, which is outside some people's budget. Yeah.
The point being, right, is that you tend to get these people that are buying this small stuff, and someone will go buy something for cheap here, do that, and then they'll spin off and ultimately they'll buy from someone else. Or they're just the biggest nightmare customers because the people that pay the less are the biggest pain in the ass.
Tell me about it.
Right, there you go. So you felt the pain. So what you do, you've got to kill that off, and you create a full and remarkable solution for the perfect type of client. So if you think about who did you really enjoy working with, who came to the studio, who paid the big bucks, and you did some great content, what did you do for that person? We'll say that they did some studio time, and in that time you did maybe those sort of 10 videos within that session that they were able to then use. If you just get really good at selling a 10 video in studio package for, you know, $5,000 or whatever it is, and you can say, this session, not only what do we do is we give you the videos, we work the edits, we give you little small little reel type chopped like 60-second splits out of each video. We give you the full length videos, high definition. We'll even upload it onto your YouTube for you. We might even get a writer involved to be able to write some descriptions or get the captions and the transcripts. However you kind of package this, this becomes then the full and remarkable solution for someone that is willing to invest in their social media, to willing to invest in their marketing and go, right, I want to do that. Now, David, you get really good at discussing the merits of this package, why this should work. You also get really good at finding your perfect target audience. For me, it was someone called Colin, right? So Colin was the first person that brought my digital trailblazer product. I love Colin. He was awesome, right? He was my perfect audience. He owned an IT company, 50 staff. He was owner operated. He was great on camera because that was important for us because we were running this stuff. You know, we had video as part of what we did, right? And so we then got really good at finding our Colin. We talked about Colin openly in the office. Where's the next Collins? How can we get Collins along? How can we produce events that Colin would want to go to? And so Collins started to gravitate towards us, and then the Collins started to invite other Collins. And there, so you know, you might have, you know, we used to have female Collins, Colinettas, you know, and it was just all that mattered for us was, were they owner operated? Did they have a team of 5 to 50 staff? Were they business service sector? Would they be good on camera? And that's what defined a Colin for us. Would they have the budget? Did they value marketing? That's what defined it for us. And therefore, that's how we found people, through things like LinkedIn outreach, through things like Facebook ads. And we just would pile people into what was back in the day when I was in the marketing agency before I sold it, it was in the old world. So we had monthly moments that were physical in-person events, which were like marketing events. So the beauty of this Zoom world is we're all used to it. But do you remember back in the day where nobody would ever dream of turning up to something like this because it was all kind of physical events? So we used to do our monthly thing, and we used to get loads of people come along to it, and then we would sell our service for the digital trailblazer. That was a $3,500 a month product, by the way, David. So that the appetite was there. They were paying 3.5. So I didn't need many Collins. You know, we were looking at 1 to 2 a month is what we were looking at. You know, I don't know obviously what, you know, what your ambitions would be, but say you were doing, say, a $3,000, say it was just a $3,000 product, because you said 1,000, I'm going to triple it for you, right? It was a $3,000 product and you did it in the studio. If you sold 1 to 2 of those a week, would you be happy?
I'd be even more delighted than Bristol City getting into the Premier League.
Okay, good stuff. So to get that Bristol City delight, that rhythm of finding the right people talking around that product, creating your weekly moments, which could just be a video, doesn't have to be an event, but producing that to get the right people into your sales calls to be able to then get that rhythm. And when you see them, give them a 1 or a 0. It's so much more powerful when it's a yes, it's a, you either have this product or I don't work with you. It is a, you know, flagship product or not, because I don't do anything else, because the best thing for you to do is this studio day.
That's so radical, because that is the exact opposite of my line of thinking, where I've been going big, to be fair, along that thing that you've said. but then being prepared to kind of operate takeaway after takeaway until you're left with like 150 quid, well, not as cheap as 50 quid, but 100 quid social short or something. It's quite tiring and hassly.
And you spent so much time to get that person into that meeting, and the energy you put into your marketing, and then you're writing the proposal, you're pitching these different things, and then they go and buy something for 100 quid. And you're like, what is the freaking, you've already spent 100 quid just having the sales conversation with them. So what's the, to then go and have to do the thing, it's too much energy. Whereas you want to sell the full remarkable solution. You create the day, you imagine the theater around it, you get them into the studio,
it's having the balls to have that binary thing where you're prepared to walk away. It's like poker,
it's not even walking away, it is you only present the package. Right. The only reason they booked that meeting is because they probably heard you present that package beforehand.
Right.
So you're not having that sales conversation with people that are kind of thinking there, you're presenting that package. Now, the beautiful thing about presenting that package is that people might buy 2 of them because they want to have 20 videos. And then you're like, shit, I just did $6,000. Whereas before you might have done 300 quid. Or you might have sold it for, if they wanted 20 videos, you might have sold it at $2,000 because it was £100 per video, because you were still thinking a per video. Whereas if you're thinking a package, which is videos and shorts and a little bit of text in there, maybe some thumbnails to go on, you suddenly have a whole thing. You're speaking to them beforehand, asking them what their favorite hot drink is, so you can make sure you prepare the studio. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole package in that, an experiential package for someone with a great deliverable. Then you get amazing Google reviews, and people tell every person that you do a video for, at the end you do a quick video, say, hey, how did you feel about the session? And then they give you a video testimonial. You chuck that onto your website. You look at my website, for example. We have clients and we ask them to share wins in the group, right? And so I've got a reviews page, and on my reviews page is people sharing wins, 8K win, 9K win, third sale in a week, and these are just people that are my clients sharing stuff in the group, and it's just tons and tons and tons. Your website should be like that, with videos for people that are doing the stuff, because they're doing video testimonials, and you just have people saying that.
I'd put it akin to, it's like assembling an orchestra. If you're just giving people the strings, or you're just giving people the wind instruments, or you're just giving people percussion, what you're doing is you're creating an ensemble of a presentation. And that's the way that I actually say, so, do you want just the wind instruments, or do you want percussion, or do you want, so and so.
Yeah, exactly. Don't offer them a variety of solutions, offer them the solution that's right for them, because you've been doing this for so long, what's right for them, because what they want, who they are, and you sell them the right package. Look, guys, on that, and Tony, thank you, because that's a great analogy to finish on, and David, thank you, because that's a great example again of the kind of work that we do when we book in the strategy sessions. Do jump into that time. It is there's no obligation in it. Don't worry, there's no hard sales pitch or anything like that. It's purely just a demo of what I do, and specifically time to be able to deep dive into your business. So do jump into that, guys. So the links are already in the chat for the strategy session. Thank you for the people that have already booked in on this call. So I've got that on my phone that ping, so appreciate that. And if you're not diving into that, or you're booking one for a few weeks time, I will see you at 9 o'clock next week for another marketing roundtable. Big love, take care, brush your hair, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye now.